two really beneficial movements are happening during the turn on the forehand from a gymnastic point of view. These are adduction and abduction. Adduction is the movement of a body part towards the midline. So here you can see the hind leg is moving under the horse's midline and in front of the outside hind. This is the adduction or closing phase of the movement. Abduction is any movement of the leg away from the midline of the body. Here you can see the opening of the legs, and this is abduction. The hip joint, circled in red, is what makes lateral movement of the hind limb possible. The lower joints of the stifle and the hock only allow flexion and extension forwards and backwards and don't allow any rotational or lateral movement. So the muscles engaged in lateral work are the ones that mobilise the hip joint and the femur. During the abduction phase, the weight-bearing leg is on the side that the horse is moving away from. In this case, the horse is moving to the right. The non-weight-bearing leg is on the side the horse is moving towards. The main abductor muscles are the gluteal group, the most powerful of which is the middle gluteal muscle called the gluteus medius. When it contracts, this muscle moves the top bone of the hind leg, the femur, away from the body, which moves the entire leg. The deep gluteal muscle also contributes to this movement. Adductor muscles that close the legs need to relax and lengthen. The amount of abduction is determined by the ability of these muscles to lengthen. The very important iliopsoas group of muscles are also used during this movement. Dressage riders will know about these muscles as they play a crucial part in the engagement of the hind leg as it comes under the body. You can see from the smaller picture that the iliopsoas muscles sit deep within the body, connecting the hind legs to the spine and the pelvis. At this stage of the movement, the iliopsoas must lengthen as the legs open. Finally, another combination of muscles must move the non-weight-bearing hind limb to the right, in this case. This is the tensor fasciolate muscle, which works with the deep gluteal and the iliopsoas muscles. In the adduction phase of the movement, the weight-bearing legs swap over. You can see from the picture that the horse is still travelling to the right. The left hind leg, which is under the body, is the non-weight-bearing leg, and the right hind leg is weight-bearing. Adductor muscles, those are the little arrows in orange, contract strongly, bringing the left hind leg under the body. The hamstring muscles also contract on the side of the weight-bearing leg. The iliopsoas muscles bring the left hind leg under the body. Remember, this is a fantastic gymnastic exercise in preparation for more advanced dressage movements because you're gently firing all the muscles that you'll need when you're riding. In these next two video clips, both the horse's poles are locked and tight, and this causes tension all the way down the body. When you try the turn on the forehand, the inside front leg is very likely to step into your space, as the horse can't bend the body properly because of the tension in the front end. It would be much better to release the tension in the head and the neck before starting the turn. And if the head and neck are tight and locked, then basically the turn on the forehand is not going to work. To soften the neck, it can help to run your hands softly down the shoulder groove, or you can try combing the rope with your hands, as that can help the horse to release at the pole and bring the head around towards you. If this isn't working, then you need to take a step back and try to release the pole as a separate exercise, and then go back to your turn on the forehand once this is working. The next clip will show you how to do this. Don't pull on the head or get frustrated, as all that's going to do is to increase the tension.
I'm going to talk to you today about using a bit of the Masterson method to help release tension at the pole and in the neck. So we're just going to have a little go at doing lateral cervical flexion. So the difference with the Masterson method is that we're going to try and stay underneath the horse's bracing response. So the idea is to stay soft and light and feel and watch what the horse is trying to tell you. So we're never going to push the horse more than what they can do, and we're just going to ask for a little bit, soften, relax, keep everything relaxed. first thing I'm going to do is to just get a little bit of movement up at the pole. So I'm going to always start on the left hand side. I'm going to put my left hand just under the noseband, not gripping, and then my right hand is just going to go under the cheekbone. Everything stays soft, and all I'm going to try and do is ask for a little wiggle. So I'm just going to wiggle a tiny movement, just a tiny movement, and she's released a little lick in the chew. She's released a bit of tension already. Finding it a bit difficult because there's a bit of tension at the pole. So I'm just going to ask again a little bit more and just see what I can get. So just a little wiggle, just a tiny wiggle. It probably doesn't look like I'm doing very much, but I'm just imagining that the pole is wiggling from side to side. There, you might be able to see a little bit of movement, and her eyes are closing. She's really feeling what I'm doing. So I'm just going to keep going a little bit, and then I'm just going to let her have a rest and see what she's going to say. Okay, so now we've got a lovely yawn, so a big release from tension just at the pole. So I'm just going to wait and let her release everything before I'm going to start doing anything else. So the idea is not to rush, to stay with them. They are in charge of the pace that you take, and a big shake as well. Okay. They often do fidget before they release, so don't worry about that. Okay, that was another fidget, and now we have another release. So this is a lot of yawns from a tiny bit of movement.
Hopefully it's becoming clear that a number of these problems are all connected to tension and brace in the horse's body. Here Donald is struggling to cross his right hind in front of his left hind, and instead he shuffles his feet together rather than crossing over. To resolve this, it's going to be necessary to 1. Slow right down, 2. Try to soften up the neck and head as discussed in the last section, 3. Use the lead rope or possibly a stick to ask the shoulders not to walk into you, and finally 4. Put a little bit more energy into asking the hind legs to step over. Bear in mind that sometimes there are physical reasons why the horse can't do this. So you could ask and ask, but if there are physical restrictions, then it's going to be really difficult to achieve. We'll talk more about this in a moment. If this is your challenge, then take a moment to ask yourself why your horse is stepping into you with his inside front leg. We've already talked about tension in the pole causing this, and tension is the primary reason that Panda is stepping into me in this clip. Another reason that you might get stepped into is that the horse is used to stepping into people and is barging in a number of different situations. If that's the case, you need to ask him not to walk into you at any time and be really consistent about this. This is a big problem for a lot of owners. Another reason is that you may be stepping backwards as you ask for the turn on the forehand and inadvertently inviting the horse to step into your space. If that's the case, hold your ground and use the lead rope or possibly a stick to help you to maintain the space between you and your horse. If anything is becoming dangerous, then stop and get some help. This is a good example of a situation where this pony really can't make the same movement on the right rein as he can on the left rein. You can clearly see Donald's difficulties with this turn on the right rein, but if you look at the left rein, the movement's okay. In this case, the difference is down to a physical problem with some arthritis in the neck on the right side and asymmetry in the pelvis between the left and right sides. It's unlikely that I can make all that much progress until Donald has had some body work, and in addition to that, I need to be doing some groundwork exercises with him at least 2 or 3 times a week just to strengthen weak muscles and encourage more even development. The sort of exercises that could be beneficial to him would be turn on the forehand, turn on the haunches, back up, pole work and some carrot stretches, which are exactly the sorts of things I'm going to cover in these series of video tutorials. In this clip, both front feet of the horse are moving forward too much. The inside front foot should be a pivot foot. It's great if it can pick up and set down again in the same place to avoid putting the fetlock joint under pressure by twisting, But in this case, the left front foot is taking big steps forward, as shown by the red circle. The outside front also takes a big step forward, and this happens because the mare loses her balance as the hind leg crosses under the body, and she needs to regain her balance with the outside front leg. The solution is to teach the horse to place 3 supporting legs on the ground to form a stable triangle of support. This is what we'll have a look at in the last section of this video. This is a very young New Forest pony who was born and ran feral on the New Forest. He is very friendly, but has only had a little handling, and certainly he's never done a turn on the forehand before this clip was shot. Go really slowly with youngsters, 1 step at a time. Expect a little and reward a lot. Keep the sessions very short. Even after less than 10 minutes, this little guy was clearly mentally tired. Allow lots of time for all horses to have a think about what they're doing, but especially youngsters. They may need to blink, breathe out, lick and chew, or yawn as they process information and relax. To improve your turn, the first thing to do is to slow everything down so you're working on 1 step at a time. Don't try to do a complete 180 or 360 degree turn, but instead work on 1 stride and pay more attention to controlling all 4 legs at the same time. It's easy to focus on the crossing step of the hind legs and forget the front legs, but this turn is a balancing act between managing the hind and the front legs, and it's a bit like patting your head and rubbing your tummy, so it takes a bit of practice with coordination. The key is to teach the horse how to get himself into a balanced position by forming a triangle with his 3 supporting legs. This forms a solid base of support while he both adducts and abducts the hind legs. You'll find that you need to be able to move 1 foot at a time to create a triangle, and this is a fantastic exercise in itself.